What is going down, Internet? We're going to take a look at the best all-around tiny jet there is, the phenomenal Phenom 100. And you're watching Season 5 of Relative Motion, and the Phenom 100 is going to be Episode 1, where we're taking a look at the best small private jets on the planet. You might think they look like a hot rod, or you may even think they look cute. But either way, these are awesome machines. And in this episode, I'm going to show you why the Phenom 100 is the best all-around one there is. The Phenom 100 is the smallest jet made by Embraer, and Embraer is a giant in the aviation industry. They are actually based out of Brazil, but obviously sell their products worldwide, and are even very popular in the United States. It's a pretty amazing company, because they actually compete pretty closely with Boeing and Airbus. Most people don't realize this. Embraer's largest jet they make is the passenger jet, and this series of jets are called the E family. And the latest version, the E2, is a large competitor for the Boeing 737 and the Airbus A320 family of jets. The only other competitor close to Embraer is Bombardier out of Canada. And while they actually do make passenger jets, I would say they're not quite at the level of competition that Embraer competes with Boeing and Airbus with. And this is because Bombardier's most successful jet, the CRJ family of jets, are really jets in a different class than the 737 or the A320. And I will definitely do a video on the CRJ when we get into larger jets. So if you don't want to miss that episode, or of course any of the other light jets I'm going to talk about in this series, if you haven't already, I hope you consider subscribing below so you won't miss any upcoming videos. Now to me, the Phenom 100 is definitely one of the safest jets on this list, and this is for several reasons. One of the ones being, like I just mentioned, Embraer makes large passenger jets, which are among some of the safest pieces of machinery on this planet. And their larger jets have a great track record. And this little jet has a very good track record as well. Another reason this is really safe is it's a fairly modern jet, I think being the second oldest on this list. It has a lot of modern features, including safety features. And on top of it, for still only being out a fairly short time, these are pretty well proven, having a fleet of already 300 jets being made. These little jets have been run through the paces a decent amount. Now, this jet has some great well-rounded stats. However, it's not really the best in any category. But I'm not going to really take this as a ding against it for that. Since I am calling it the best all-around jet, I'd say its stats fit that pretty well. And another reason leading this to being the best small all-around jet is I'd say this is one of the best looking jets on this list, especially if you're looking for a more traditional look. And I mean that kind of compared to the Honda jet, which we'll talk about later in this series. And while I do love the way this thing looks, I'd say it has a little bit of a busy appearance. Being such a small jet, and having wing-mounted engines and winglets, it's not as clean of a look, if that's what you want your jet to look like. And the other reason I'd say the Phenom 100 has a more traditional, good-looking jet style is the fact that, as I'm not going to say this little jet sits high in the air, but I will say it sits high in the air for its size, which surprisingly is a feature a lot of private jet owners look for in jets, and is one of the reasons I believe Gulfstreams have always had great success, because they truly have mastered the look that people want in a private jet. And one of those features is that a Gulfstream sits really high in the air. A unique feature of this jet that is actually shared on all Embraer aircraft is Embraer has this unique yoke that the pilot uses to control the aircraft. I'm not really going to say this yoke's any better or worse than a standard yoke. Some people like them, some people don't. I've heard very mixed things about them. But if you want my truthful opinion, I really don't think it matters that much. And I think it would be perfectly adequate for controlling your aircraft with. And of course, makes an interesting conversation piece. Another feature making this such a great little jet is it has a really good avionics package, which is called the Garmin 3000 system. And it really doesn't get more high-end than this. The only better avionics package that I know of is the Garmin 5000 that's in the Citation X, which we definitely will be doing a video on. Not in this series, but when we talk about larger jets, because to me that might be the best private jet there is. But just because the Garmin 5000 is out there, don't think the Garmin 3000 is not enough. This is the best avionics package you're going to find in any light jet. And an avionics package just really means a lot of the monitoring, communications, and control systems in an aircraft that would need to be used during flight. The interior of this aircraft is the fairly standard interior that you would find in most of these small jets. Now it's going to have 4-place club seating in the back because this is actually one of the larger small jets. They were actually able to fit in a refreshment center between the cockpit and the seats, which isn't going to be able to cook much, but certainly has a good amount of storage, especially for this small of a jet. And then it actually has a lav in the back. However, I'm here to tell you, that's a toilet you don't want to be using, because these little jets are tighter than you might expect. And if there are passengers in this plane, you're about 2 feet from anyone using that toilet. And you can pretty much hear everything going on in there. And then I'm not even getting into the fact that once that door opens up, what the rest of that flight's going to smell like. So to me, these separate lavatories on these smaller jets are a little bit of a novelty item, because you really don't want to be using one unless it's an absolute emergency. Especially for the fact these light jets really don't stay in the air more than 2 to 3 hours before they're out of fuel, which is the perfect amount of time you want to be sitting in this thing. However, most people should really be able to hold it that long, I would think, especially for their fellow comrades in this small jet. Now, as always, at the end of these videos, I'm going to show the tables of specifications for this jet and other jets that I'm going to cover in this series. And make sure you check out the next video in this series, where I'm going to talk about the Subsonic jet, which truly is the tiniest jet you can buy in the entire world. And until next time, I'm James Cooper, and you've been watching Relative Motion.